I love Thomas Wooden Railway. No brand of Thomas merchandise screams charming and quality built more than this. Over the course of more than 30 years, Thomas Wooden Railway proved to be one of the most popular and diverse toy lines. Almost every character got a toy, and there was so much creativity evoked through the various multi-packs, sets, and track packs. This is actually how I was introduced to Thomas and Friends. My youngest brother was born in 2007, and when my parents brought him home from the hospital, they gifted me with a 2003 Thomas model. After that, I got the Thomas's Halloween Adventures DVD, and I was hooked for life. That Thomas model is unfortunately lost to time, but I still have about 99% of my childhood collection, and I hold all of those memories very close to my heart. In commemoration of my 10-year anniversary on YouTube, I'm making 4 huge videos showing off all of my Thomas merchandise collections, and I thought we'd start with the collection that started it all. It's a big one, so get comfortable. This is my Thomas Wooden Railway collection. Let's start with the oldest item in the collection, an original 1993 Thomas. I absolutely adore this model. This is without a doubt the best version of Thomas in wooden form. It's so charming. The face is absolutely perfect, it's made entirely of wood, and it oozes with passion. It's so evident by this toy that Roy Wilson loved Thomas. Overall, a fantastic model. Next up, we have 2 1997 Thomases. Not much has changed here, but in my opinion, Thomas lost a lot of the charm with his face. I think it's due to the pupils. I think I got both of these Thomases in 2 different Day at the Works sets, but I could be wrong. Not the worst model ever, but it was definitely a downgrade. Here's the 2001 Thomas, along with his original character card. It was around this time when the engines gained more plastic details like smoke boxes and coal loads. And while I do like how the plastic funnels look, I'll always prefer the all-wood models. I also think this face looks kind of weird. I don't know what it is, but I've never really liked it. Now we come to 2002, and some major changes were made. The main characters were redesigned to match the promo art of the time, although not all of them benefited from the changes. Strangely though, Thomas wasn't given stripes on his boiler until 2003, resulting in this model. There are actually 2 different variants of this Thomas, one with a hole in his chimney and one without. I don't know why this one wasn't given a hole, but it's a cool novelty, I suppose. This one also came with the famous Youngster's cargo car, a classic item. And here's the infamous 2003 Thomas. I guarantee this is one of the most mass-produced toy ever. This guy is all over the place. This is the version of Thomas I grew up with, but this isn't my original model from childhood. I have no idea where that went. I also have another one, and I bought this one back in the day when I was starting up my YouTube channel. I was a stupid teenager and painted buffer detailing on all the items I had in 2018. In retrospect, that was a pretty dumb idea. I have a couple different versions of the 2003 Thomas, starting with this shocked one that came with a jet engine, and you guessed it, also has the character card. I love this Thomas, the face is awesome. The jet engine is also pretty cool, though I was always confused why it didn't look anything like the one from the show. In 2005, Learning Curve released a couple celebratory items for the 60th anniversary, one of which being this beautiful gold Thomas. This is a great item, they didn't half-ass it at all. They fully committed, and that definitely paid off. I also have a Thomas that came with a Santa hat, which came in a pack with the Christmas tunnel. A really cute item, and I'm glad it's got a unique character card. I really wish we got more characters with Santa hats. Here's the Lights and Sounds Thomas. I got this one in a Facebook Marketplace lot, but I probably wouldn't have bought it on its own. I'm not really a fan of these gimmicky type of items, they just overwhelm the store shelves so much back in the day. It's still kind of neat, and I really like how it has buffer and coupling hook detailing. Okay, so this is a totally random variant, but it's so incredibly well detailed. This is the mud-covered Thomas from The Great Discovery. Learning Curve probably had a surplus of shocked Thomases lying around, so they dressed this one up to look like him after he crashes out of the mine. The detailing is really impressive. I'm really happy to have this one. Rounding out this era of Thomas is the battery-powered one. I got this in that figure 8 set that came with Sir Topham Hatt and this yellow Brakevan as a kid, and I really liked it. So much so that I actually ripped off a piece of the black grip on his wheels. I was a dumb kid. This version is okay. It's miles better than the Thomas Express version, but it doesn't even hold a candle to Mattel's version. In 2011, the engine's faces were changed to better represent their CGI counterparts, and they look, well, quite frankly, horrible. Honestly, who on earth approved this? At this time, Learning Curve was in the process of selling Thomas Wooden Railway, and you can kind of tell that they didn't really care anymore because good God, these are terrible. Thank God this is the only Steam team member I have from this era. I also have this Celebration Thomas, I guess. I kind of forgot I owned this. There we go, much better. Mattel acquired the rights to Thomas Wooden Railway in 2012 and rolled out their new stuff in 2013, and boy oh boy is this Thomas better. The face is so much more natural, the details were cleaned up, and the shade of blue is much more pleasing. Great job, Mattel. I have 2 of these, one of which came in that pirate ship figure 8 set with this cool cargo car. Here's a custom. I took the body of a regular Thomas, cut the face off, and now I'm able to change it out with the faces from the Thomases that came in the Adventures of Thomas pack. These are really good faces. I especially like the sad one. It represents my life perfectly. Here's the Goldmine Thomas, which came in that big Toys R Us set. I also have 2 of the Ricketies that came with it. Oh, poor Rickety. He lost his Chad status and now he's just a virgin. I just mentioned it earlier, but here are 2 versions of the battery-operated Thomas. This is the gold standard for a battery-operated Thomas. It's perfect, so perfect that I actually have 2 of them. For all of you out there that do remakes, these are great for moving engines around in the background. Highly recommend you hire some of these guys as unpaid employees. Rounding out the Mattel Thomases is this absolutely stunning 2-pack from 2015. It features both a regular Thomas and a pearl paint job with a gold smokebox and wheels, and in my opinion, the coolest thing Mattel has ever made for Thomas and Friends. 1942 Thomas. I genuinely cannot believe this is a real product. The fact that Mattel actually knew what this Thomas was is outstanding. Very impressive. I got this pack from Northern Star Adrian on Twitter. Thanks a lot, Adrian. And now we go to the absolute lowest point. This is the 2018 Thomas Wood Thomas. Now, Mattel has done a lot of things that have pissed me off, but killing Thomas Wooden Railway and replacing it with this hippie Gen Z tree hugger bullshit is, in my opinion, the most offensive thing they've ever done to this brand. Why did they think showing exposed wood was a good idea? Why did they shorten the tender engines? Why did they change the track system? 2018 was definitely the lowest point for Thomas and Friends, and this didn't help one bit. This kind of did, though. Mattel opened up one of their 2 eyes and realized that selling a half-painted toy was totally ridiculous. So in 2019, they fully painted all of the items. The line is still bad, but at least Thomas actually looks like Thomas. To give some sort of credit to Thomas Wood Thomas, I do like how his splasher was placed above his wheel. For over 10 years, it was crammed into the side tank and it looked horrible. This looks kind of better. Thomas Wood was thankfully canceled in 2021 and replaced with this, the 2022 Thomas. Wow, what an improvement. This Thomas isn't perfect, but it definitely comes from a place of passion. The wheels are kind of weird and he is a bit chunky, but I genuinely think this was designed by someone who loved classic Wooden Railway. Unfortunately, this line didn't last very long. We didn't get any new items past 2022 minus Day Out with Thomas items, and the line as a whole was canceled very recently. Such a shame. I really wanted to see more characters in this style. Phew, those were all the versions of Thomas. I did not anticipate how long that would take. Alright, let's move on to some other characters. Here's the 1994 version of Edward. Like the 1993 Thomas, this is an extraordinarily charming model. I've never been a huge fan of his wheel arrangement, but it's just so charming that I can't hate it. Here's the 2003 Edward, and this is the one I had as a kid. The face on mine is pretty yellowed, but overall, he's in really good condition. I really like this version of Edward. I think he benefited really well from the redesign. Speaking of benefiting from redesigns, here's the 2013 Edward, one of the classiest Thomas toys ever. I love the face, I love the details. Overall, a great Edward. And here's the 2022 Edward. I don't really like the shocked face, and he looks a bit thin, but overall, another great version of Edward. This has always been very reminiscent of Railway Series Edward to me. I'm not really sure what it is, but something about it just channels late 60s Railway Series Edward. Now it's time for Henry's section, and this will probably be one of my hottest takes, but I really don't like this version of Henry. His boiler is way too small. He looks so puny, especially next to Gordon. Why they didn't just repaint Gordon and give him the square smoke box is totally beyond me. Much better. Here's the 2003 Henry. This is the best looking 2003 redesign. He's better scaled and he was given the correct tender. A great model. Henry was my favorite character as a kid and I have a lot of great memories with this toy. In fact, the day I got him, I remember running him through a peanut butter sandwich. And if you look a little closely, there's still a little bit of peanut butter on his wheels. Again, I was a stupid kid. Here's another custom. It's a 2003 Henry with Gordon's smoke box. I used this for my Season 1 remakes, and I think it turned out really well, though I think it's time to put some lining on his smoke box. And here's the 2013 Henry. Like Edward, this is a very classy model. I'm not a fan of CGI Henry's face, but I can't deny that this looks accurate. I like how both he and Gordon gained smoke box supports on these versions. Those little details really make a world of difference. Okay, this is a really strange one. This is the 2017 Henry. So, right before Thomas Wood was ushered in, Mattel made all of their models really cheap. They got rid of some details, cheapened down the paint, and for some reason made the faces smaller. Why these choices were made is beyond me. I needed a new version of Henry when I started my YouTube channel. I was scared of eBay, and this was all that was available at the time, so I had to make do with what I had. Yeah, not the greatest Henry ever, but miles better than what came after. Ugh. Rounding out the Henrys is the 2022 one. I like this one a lot. He looks a bit paranoid and psychotic, but at least he has a big tender and accurate wheel configuration. A really nice model. Let's hop over to Gordon now. Here's the 2001 version. I've always loved this Gordon. These early models look pretty bare without pinstriping, but that face totally makes up for it. That is classic Gordon without a shadow of a doubt. And here's my childhood Gordon. Like Henry, this is a pretty good redesign, though the face is a bit strange. His eyebrows rubbed off, so I gave him evil eyebrows. Why? I don't know. And here's the 2013 one. Again, like the others, looking great. I also have the 2017 Gordon. Same deal as Henry. I needed a new Gordon, and this was all that was available at the time. A very odd toy. Henry looked fine. Gordon looks very strange. The 2022 Gordon is much better though. I don't love his face, but the rest of him is awesome. The tenders on these tender engines are great. So much better than the little puny one we had previously. Let's take a look at James now. Here's the 1994 version. I love this version of James. Like the 93 Thomas, it's so simple and charming. The face is great and the body is really accurate. Another shining example of how great OG Thomas Wooden Railway is. Here's a really cool one, the original James Goes Buzz Buzz. This was an exclusive to the set of the same name, and he has an awesome face. What really makes this notable is that when you put your finger over his nose, it actually turns gray. Such a clever idea. Mine doesn't seem to be working anymore, but it's still a really cool novelty. Next up, we have the 2003 James with this character card. So here's a fun little story about this James. I had every engine 1 through 7 as a kid, apart from James. My mom told me that he was actually really hard to find back then. However, around 2009 or so, my grandma took me to Target to get some Thomas stuff to keep at her house, and one of the items she got was James, and I would always play with him when I went over there. I think out of all the 2003 redesigns, Henry and James look the best. His face is subpar, but I really love the extra lining he got. A really nice model, not to mention that his gold dome really shines. Speaking of nice models, here's the 2013 James. Classy and sharp are the best words to describe this model. The face is 1-to-1 to a CG model, and again, the gold lining really makes him pop. The black wheels are also very notable on this model. They really contrast the engine perfectly. One of Mattel's nicest. Here's another 2013 James, but like that Mattel Thomas, he has interchangeable faces. I use this for my Buzz Buzz remake, so we can wear both the Mad face and the 2003 Buzz Buzz face. This is a random one. This is Fishy James. So this was an exclusive to a set from 2013 or 14, and the only reason I got it was because I found it in a thrift store for 25 cents. Mattel was usually hit or miss with their variants, but this one definitely missed. It's just not that remarkable. If he had a ton of fish on him or a shocked face, I think it'd be much better. This one's better though. This is the 2015 Introducing James. This was strangely the only piece of Adventure Begins merchandise in Wooden Railway, but I'm glad it was made. Overall, a really nice model, but way too overpriced. Jesus Christ. And the last James I have is the 2022 one, and I gotta say, this is one of the weakest 2022 models. He's really thin, and his wheels don't really complement the size. The face is okay, but I wish he was made a bit thicker. Alright, here's Percy. This is the 2000 version with the plastic smoke box. Not much to say here though, he's fine. This is an odd one. This is the Thomas Express Percy. These battery-powered engines are really odd because they all reuse Thomas's mold. Percy's isn't as bad as James's, but he still rubs me the wrong way. I do like how these engines can go backwards and forwards. That's something that really lacks on the later versions. Here's the 2003 Percy. Along with the 2003 Thomas, this has got to be one of the most mass-produced toys ever. I got Percy for Christmas in 2007 along with Annie and Clarabelle, but unfortunately I lost that version. If you ever want to see him in action, you can go back and watch some of my old videos from pre-2019, and yeah, he's not that pretty. This version of Percy isn't that great, to be honest. The face is really weird, and the whole model is really chubby. Not the best redesign. Here's the Silver Percy from 2005. A neat variant, but I always thought his face looked super creepy with all that silver paint. This is an awesome variant, the Jack Frost Percy. This was included in the Adventures of Percy pack, but this is the only one from the pack I own. Such an inspired model. The face with the icicle nose is so genius, and the rubber icicles on top are really cool. Mine have unfortunately yellowed over time, but this is still a great toy. Probably the best variant of Percy, if I'm being honest. While that was the best variant of Percy, this is the best overall version of Percy. This is the 2022 version, and man, oh man, is this an item. I absolutely love the 2022 Percy. This is easily the best 2022 model. He's the right size and shape, and all of the separately fitted features are great. You may have noticed that I actually don't have a 2013 Percy. Well, I actually really hate that version of him. He's way too fat and he doesn't look good at all alongside the other 2013 models. This one fixes all of that. And here's my custom Percy with old wheels and the wood face. Now he really fits in with the regular characters. Rounding out the main characters is the 2001 Toby. I really like this version of Toby. Very simple but effective. Although I always was weirded out how his back was completely blank. I really wish I had the 93 version with 4 wheels. That's truly classic Thomas Wooden Railway. And here's the 2003 Toby. I had 2 of these growing up, this one coming from the Toby's Windmill Story set. I got my other Toby from Day Out with Thomas. I went for my birthday in 2008 and came back with a great souvenir. Unfortunately, that Toby has also been lost to time, but at least I still have this one. It's virtually the same as the 90s version, but it has a couple updated details, including back detailing. I think these make a world of difference and really make Toby pop. Definitely up there with Henry and James for the best 2003 redesign. And of course, we have the 2013 Toby. Like James, this is a very classy model. I really like the shade of brown they chose, and the face is ripped right off of the CG model. I also really like the addition of the funnel. That's a really nice attention to detail. Yep, definitely a great model. Speaking of great models, here's the battery operated Toby. I got this guy by happenstance in a Facebook lot, but I'm really glad he was in there. He translated very well into battery powered form. I love how his power button is the bell string. Again, great attention to detail, another fantastic model. This breaks the trend, unfortunately. The 2022 Toby is definitely one of the weakest of the range. I appreciate that he was made, but he looks way too bottom heavy. Why is his body so thin? I'm also not really a fan of the face. It does resemble his persona from the CGI series, but I just wish he had a normal one. Definitely could have used a redesign. Now we move on to the secondary characters. Here's the 2003 Duck with his character card. He's cool, definitely not bad, but he doesn't really jump out at me that much. I've always been kind of weirded out that he didn't have a proper funnel. I mean, technically he has one here, but compared to the other engines, he looks really odd. This one though, this is an absolutely wonderful model. This is the 2014 Duck, and my god, what a looker. This is definitely a top 5 item from Mattel. He finally has a defined funnel, he's got accurate wheel splashers, and an absolutely perfect face. This model holds a really special place in my heart. I never had Duck as a kid, but I always wanted him. This model here was the first item I got when I got back into collecting Thomas Wooden Railway. I got him from a board game store in 2016 along with the 2015 Coldy, so this guy really means a lot to me. I'm so happy Mattel made him. Definitely one of my favorite Thomas Wooden Railway items. And now we move on to my favorite characters, Donald and Douglas. Here's the 1996 Donald. The twins stayed virtually the same for their entire run in Thomas Wooden Railway. Like Duck, they don't really have pronounced funnels, which always bugged me. I do really like the faces though, along with the tenders. I think I actually like the versions without molded coal. Makes them seem a bit more proportionally scaled. And here's the 2003 Donald. Not many changes made here, but the tenders were given coal and their pupils were crazily enlarged. I never liked how big they got. I always hated how they never got painted eyes. It made them look so off when put next to characters that did have them. This is the one I had as a kid, and I specifically remember getting him in Target circa 2009 or so, and then going to the Pizza Hut Express in the store and playing with him. Good times. Here's another 2003 version, but in much better condition. I really wanted a freshened up version of Donald, and I was very lucky to get this guy in eBay used in the box with a character card for a really good price. And what's Donald without Douglas? This is also the 1996 version. Pretty much exactly the same as Donald. I really wish these guys had different expressions, would have made them so much more distinctive. And here's my childhood Douglas. You can really tell it's from my childhood because he got really banged up, and 9-year-old me thought it would be a great idea to paint over the paint chips. Yep, I was one of those kids. And like Donald, I also got a new version of Douglas used in the box. I really like that he still has the Zany Bernie sticker on it. Truly an item from the early 2000s. This is another favorite character of mine, Oliver. This is the 1996 version, and while I love the character to death, I've never really liked this version of him. The face is okay, but the shape is really weird, and he doesn't have green wheels. Quite odd. And here's the 2001 version with his character card. Literally exactly the same, but with a plastic smoke box. I don't have a regular 2006 version, but I did turn one into a scrap Oliver for my Escape remake. Minus the face, I really like this version, and I think my custom turned out pretty cool. Rounding out the Oliver shrine is the 2014 Oliver from Tale of the Brave. I remember freaking out when this toy came out, and I immediately grabbed him off the shelf when my grandma took me to Barnes & Noble. I could care less for this fossil car, but Oliver is really cool. Again, like Duck, he's got a great face. Literally plucked right off the model from the show. Not bad at all. I'm so happy he and Duck got new models. Let's look at the devil himself. Here's the 2005 Diesel. Diesel was the same situation as James. I never owned him, but my grandma did, and I sneakily swiped him from her a few years back. I really like this version. The red buffer beam adds a great breakup to his color, and the face is perfect. He never had a smiling face until Mattel took over, of which is very commendable. Great model. Now, you youngins probably won't get this reference, but this is one of the most infamous items in Thomas fandom history, the Bronze Diesel. Like the gold Thomas and silver Percy, this was made for the 60th anniversary in 2005, and while this is definitely a neat variant, I'm curious as to why they chose Diesel. An interesting choice, but I still like that he has the red buffer beam. Here's the 2011 Diesel. This came out around the same time as that ugly-ass 2011 Thomas, but for some reason, Diesel looks miles better. Much better than the Mattel Diesel. Ugh. And of course, here's the 2022 Diesel. Again, this is an awesome item, probably one of the most overlooked 2022 models. They nailed his shape, and the face is awesome. So sinister and maniacal, I love it. I really want to do a wheel swap on this guy. 10 out of 10. Wow, that was a lot of variants. Don't worry, we're entering the part of the collection with characters who don't have many variants, so this shouldn't take as long. Here's Daisy. This is the first version of her without any makeup. I've personally never been a huge fan of the 2007 Daisy. I don't know what it is. Maybe the blue windows? I'm not entirely sure. I really like this version though. Detailed very well along the side, and it even has stuff on the roof. This is the 1996 Bill. Kind of a random item in the collection, but a nice model nonetheless. Ah, now we're talking. Here's the 2005 Bill and Ben. I'm really glad that they were sold together in this era. They've been cleaned up and given their own faces. Now, this is what they should have done with Donald and Douglas. I also got these guys in Target, and I have a distinct memory of opening the box before we paid for it. Now, I pinpoint that moment right there to starting my career as a shoplifter. Now, these are really, really weird models. These are the 2017 versions of Bill and Ben. They're not necessarily weird because they're two colors, but when you compare them to the 2014 versions, you'll really notice a change. The faces are really creepy, and a lot of their old details were lost. I would never have bought these guys on their own, but I got them in a big lot from Facebook, and they were so strange that I just couldn't get rid of them. Such anomalies. Here's the 1999 version of Boko, who I got in the James Goes Buzz Buzz set. I love Boko. His details are nice and pronounced, and his face is really cool. He's such a happy fella. Here we have Mavis. Like Donald and Douglas, she stayed virtually the same from the mid-90s until 2012 or so. This Mavis is really special to me because she came with the Trust Thomas DVD pack from 2007, so I have a lot of memories with her. Like Douglas, I tried to cover up her paint chips with cheap paint, leading to results. I also have another version in better condition. She really benefits from being a mint model. Moving on to Stepney now, here's the OG model. I've always loved Stepney. They got his shape and color perfect, and his face is really nice. Again, like Boko, such a happy guy. I got this Stepney along with Salty in a double DVD pack with Percy Saves the Day and Thomas and his friends help out. What's really odd is that I got that pack in probably 2008, well after this model was retired. It must have not sold very well, so Learning Curve probably threw him in a bunch of different DVD packs to get rid of him. Hey, I'm not complaining. I also have another one in better condition. Like Mavis, he looks so much better without any paint chips or a crappily painted buffer beam. What I am complaining about is this. This might be the worst Thomas Wooden Railway model ever. This is the 2003 Stepney. Why? Why choose Stepney to redesign over Duck or Mavis or Donald and Douglas, for Christ's sake? This is hideous. I'm glad Eric melted him. Here's an obscure one, Class 40, or as he's properly known, the Diesel. Real creative there. This is a cool one. Such an obscure character, but his toy goes so hard. Love that derpy face. Definitely a must-have. Speaking of obscure, here's the 2007 Derek. I like this model a lot, but again, why did he get two versions? Were they just so immune to updating their Duck model? I still appreciate the effort to make Derek. He looks awesome, and I really like how his back is movable. Sticking with the Season 5 theme, here are the oil cover versions of Ari and Bert from Day of the Diesels. Okay, so, funny story. For Christmas in 2016, I asked for a Thomas Wooden Railway Bert. I must not have been very specific because on Christmas Eve, I got these guys. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I did the same thing 2 years later and I got a solo version of regular Bert. God bless my old dad. Anyways, I really like how they have identifiable faces and the oil detailing is really nice. Really neat versions. Let's hop over to the Magic Railroad and look at Lady next, and this is where I get really pissed off. I like this version of her just fine, and I've had it for probably 5 or so years, but as I was getting this video ready, her fucking funnel broke off. Thanks a lot, Learning Curve. Guaranteed for life? Yeah, right. I personally think the 2003 version is better, but the OG one is still cool. Overall, not too bad. Can't have a Thomas collection without a lady. You also can't have a baby without a lady, but that's another story. And of course, here's Diesel 10. I think I got him for passing swimming lessons. I'm a bit mixed here. I love the face, but the claw is kinda lame. It can only go forward and back, and it can't even open. It kinda looks like he's jousting when he has it out like this. But it's not a bad model, far from it.
Found it, brother.
I also have another one in better condition. Cool. And here are the two Gooners, Splatter and Dodge. So, another fun fact, I got Dodge way before Splatter. I got Dodge when he was re-released in 2011, but I didn't get Splatter until 11 years later in 2022. I don't know why that was the case, but these are still pretty nice models. And again, I love that he and Dodge have different faces. Really, really nice touch. Now we're moving into Season 6 territory, starting off with, of course, Salty. I'm a bit mixed on Salty. The face is great, and I love that he has his little hat, but the cab is really squished. Not a bad model at all, though. Much better than his prototype, my god. And again, I have another one in better condition. Here's a very late in the game addition to the collection, Harvey. I kind of refused to get this model for a couple years because I've never really liked it. I know his face is like this in the show, but it just seems really puffy, not to mention he's the wrong color. And here's his Thomas Wood counterpart. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I actually prefer the Thomas Wood Harvey over the OG one. His shape is still a bit odd, but he's the right color and his face is so much more natural. Definitely one of the better Thomas Wood models. I can't believe I just said that. Season 7 time, here's Emily with her character card. This is definitely the era where the characters started to look very weird because man, Emily's not very good. She's way too fat and the face looks nothing like her. The tender's pretty neat though. There we go, much better. The 2022 Emily is perfect. The face is great, she has the correct wheel configuration, and her body scales perfectly with the wheels. The only thing I don't like is the tender. It's literally just a box. Some more added details would have been better, but I love this model. I'm gonna have to get around to changing her wheels pretty soon. Here's Fergus, and I really like this model. He's detailed very well, and the wheels are especially cool. I love how they're separately colored on the inside. I think this was the model to do so hats off to you, Fergus. Now we're getting better. Here's Arthur, and this is a great model. I've always loved Arthur's bases, and he translated well into Wooden Railway. The color is spot on, and the details are very well defined. An essential model. And speaking of great models, here's Murdoch. His magnificence was captured perfectly here. The face is great, and the color really pops. I would have loved to see him in the 2022 range. Seeing an official Wooden Railway Murdoch with 10 driving wheels would have been awesome. And rounding out the Season 7 crew is Spencer, who is also a really nice model. I'm a bit iffy on his face, but I do like that it's different. Like Murdoch, his toy really shows off how elegant he is. Not a bad one at all. Now we kick off the Hit Era crew, starting with another very late in the game addition, Molly. I strangely never got her until a few months ago, which is kinda odd considering that she was seemingly everywhere as a kid. I remember seeing Molly toys all over the place. Even though she stands out, this is not the best model. I know it's based on her original face, but my god, compared to the final one, this one is just horrifying. Here's a great one, Neville. I've always loved Neville, partially because he's one of the only Hit newbies that actually looks like a real train. He has a very unique shape and the jet black paint looks very sleek on him. Not to mention his tender is very cool. A great toy. And now we come to my favorite Hit newbie, Dennis. Dennis is like the only Hit character with an interesting personality, and he also has a really cool toy. It's a very aesthetically pleasing gray, very lovely. Now, I don't have an original Rosie, but this will definitely do. Here's my 2022 custom Rosie. I absolutely love this model. I'm so glad Rosie was picked to be in this line. She looks wonderful. Probably the best 2022 model behind Percy. I swapped the face and the wheels with the wood one and gave her a lamp that I nicked off an extra Charlie model, and I think it makes a world of difference. Love this model. Here's Billy. Here's the 2013 Whiff. Whiff looks really nice in wooden form, but I wish I had the 2008 one. I really like all of that extra dirt and garbage detailing. Here's another really cool one, Stanley. I don't have the original, but I do have the 2017 one. I'm not sure why Mattel decided to make him so late in the game. Was it because he had a couple speaking roles in Season 20? I don't know, but this is a great model. Miles better than his OG one. The face is way more proportionate here. And now we've entered the CGI era, starting off with the 2009 Hero. Hero was a character my brothers and I always liked, and we always fought over his toy. Looking back, it is a little strange. His face doesn't really look like him, but I assume that's based on his model face. The rest of him is great. I've always loved Hero's design. And here's the 2022 one. Like Rosie, I'm really happy Mattel decided to make him in this range. He looks great, especially that tender. Wow, W job Mattel. Here's Charlie. So, story time with Nick. In like 2010, I think, my mom and I were planning a trip to Barnes & Noble to get Smudger. I don't know why I wanted Smudger. I had never seen this episode, but I just wanted him. And for some reason, I walked out with Charlie. I'm still scratching my head to this very day why I made that choice. It's not a bad model, but what really shocks me is that it's not a repaint of Billy like he basically is in the show. I guarantee if Mattel had made Billy first, they'd reuse him for Charlie. Guess this shows how superior learning curve was. Speaking of baffling childhood choices, here's Scruff. Again, I have no idea why I wanted Scruff of all characters, but I have to say, this is a damn good model. Probably one of the most underrated Thomas Wooden Railway models. The face is spot on, he's not needlessly elongated, and he has, or rather had, buffer detailing. Why did 13-year-old me decide to paint over an already detailed buffer beam? This is a neat one, the Race to the Rescue 2-pack with Flynn and Butch. Flynn, I could care less about, but Butch, man, what a great representation of the character. Butch is amazing. The detailed wheels, the accurate shape, and the magnet, only a little stupid, but this is miles better than the OG Butch. I actually got this pack while I was up in Canada in 2018. That was probably one of the last times I actually saw a classic Thomas Wooden Railway in a store, and Jesus, it was expensive. Here's the 2011 Den with his box. Not much to say about this toy, honestly, but I love the movie-themed boxes. Day of the Diesels is complete crap, but this box looks really cool. We'll see plenty more examples of cool boxes in a minute. And what's Den without Dart? Okay, this model infuriates me. I just praised Scruff for not being elongated. Why couldn't they do the same thing with Dart? After looking at this and his Trackmaster model side by side, I honestly forget that he's supposed to be a small engine. At least he's detailed well. We're right at the end of Learning Curve's run with Thomas, and even though a lot of their items were, quite frankly, laughably awful, they still put a lot of effort into their new characters. Rounding out the new Diesels is Paxton. This is the 2013 version that came with the wacky track bridge, and if I'm being honest, this is a downgrade. The 2011 Paxton is one of the coolest models in my opinion. He, Norman, and Sydney are three of the most detailed Wooden Railway items ever. The face on this one is really weird, and the unpainted wheels does not really do him any justice. Not great if I'm being honest. Alright, now we're fully in the Mattel era, kicking it off with Winston. I really like Winston. This is the second run version of him where a lot of his details were stripped away, but his shape and overall appearance translated very well into toy form. The Sertopum hat included is quite under-detailed, but that's what this model is for. I got a second Winston so I can rip out Fatty and put in my Lego one, and he looks great. Here's Stafford. He exists. Here's Steven. Now, I have a real fondness for the Mattel Wooden Railway era, especially these earlier models, but Steven really pisses me off. Why the hell did they make his tender a part of him? I've never understood that, both as a kid and an adult. It looks so weird, and like Dart, I sometimes forget that he's supposed to have a separate tender. The Take and Play model also had this treatment, so someone at Mattel clearly had a vendetta against Steven. I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but at least he's detailed well. I love the wood detailing, and the crown on his funnel is a really great touch. And again, he has a really cool box. Love it. Here's Caitlin. I don't have Connor, but she'll do for now. Not much to say about her. She's cool. And here's Porter. He's not terrible, but something about him seems kinda off to me. Maybe it's the unpronounced domes, I'm not really too sure. Here's Gator, and I don't know what it was about him, but he was always weirdly represented in toy form by Mattel. And this model would actually be really good if his face was smaller. Why on earth is it so big? It doesn't even look like Gator. Not a great model, but a pretty cool box. They definitely upped their game with Timothy, cause wow, this is definitely an underrated one. He's one of those items that has a decent amount of plastic, but it doesn't deter my thoughts of the overall toy. His proportions are very nice, and I've always thought of these curtains on him as stage curtains. Much better than the 2017 version. I mean, really, what the hell is this? What kind of crack were those designers on? Speaking of people on crack, here's Marion. She's cool. The bucket is really huge though. Makes it really tough to get a good shot of her face. This is my arch nemesis, Samson. The character's fine, but I felt so betrayed when I saw the toy for the first time. Again, with the elongation. Why? It's especially irritating when you compare him to the Take and Play model, which is so good. What happened here? very disappointing. Here's another one of my arch rivals, Ryan. I actually really like the character, but his toy is, again, so disappointing. Why did they feel the need to repaint Thomas? It's so obvious. The gold details are nice, as is the face, and again, I'm gonna sound like a constant broken record, but the box is awesome. I think this might be my favorite movie-themed one. And here's Skiff, who's a little bit better. The face is cool, and I like how the sail is represented, but my biggest complaint is that he can't come off from his chassis naturally. That would have been so cool. I would have also loved a little hollowed out space for a Sailor John figure, but again, a decent toy. Moving into 2016, we have Philip. Now, I could care less for the character, but this is a really nice toy. He's actually sized correctly. His back is correctly curved and his face is very nice. This is a really nice version, especially compared to the Trackmaster version. This is god awful, I can't believe it. Great race time, here's Ashima. I'm kind of regretting what I said about Mattel Wooden Railway earlier because this model really frustrated me. It kind of reminds me of the new motorized Nia in the sense that she's very under-detailed. She's such an elegant CG model, but the toy is really lackluster. Even if you couldn't put the extra details on her, at least giving her blue wheels would have helped elevate her look a lot. Here's Vinny, and he's definitely better than Ashima. Lots more wood is being used in these newer models, and the tender is very cool. I love the face, even though we're missing the bars across it. Definitely a standout from this era for sure. And now we come to the last new classic Wooden Railway character, Hugo. And they definitely made a model. The top is fine, but the bogies and magnets really throw it off. Seriously, it makes him look so different than how he looks in the show. Not a great way to end a great toy line. Now, we all know what happened next. Thomas Wood came in and took the nation by storm. Mattel really thought it was a good idea to sell half-painted toys and take away all the charm from Thomas Wooden Railway. Thankfully, the line was canned in late 2020, and in 2022, our king returned. In a shining example of brilliance, Mattel brought back Thomas Wooden Railway and made everything much more accurate, and really reinvigorated that premium feeling. We've seen a handful of items released during this era in the collection already, but Mattel also made a few newer characters, starting off with Nia. I actually don't mind her wood model, but I adore this version of her. I'm really glad she wasn't shrunken down to Thomas's size. She has plenty of nice details, and the face is really cool. I really like how these new items had different sizes of wheels. I swapped the big ones for the wood ones, but I'm gonna have to find something for a smaller one. Overall, a great item. While we're talking about great items, here's Rebecca. Again, she is great. Much better than the wood model. Even if the new wheels stick out a bit too far, I do really appreciate how we can have different looking wheels now. I don't really feel the need to swap the wheels on Rebecca. Hers are just too unique to her. I didn't really like the face on the original model, so I swapped it with the wood one. Again, a great item. And rounding out the new era of Thomas Wooden Railway is Kenji. This is, again, a really cool one. He looks really sleek, and I'm really happy he came with his coach. This is, unfortunately, the last rail character in the new line. Besides a few reissues of the Day Out with Thomas items, there wasn't anything new released following 2022. We seemingly got confirmation that the line was officially cancelled, and I think it's very unlikely that we'll get new wooden Thomas toys again. That's really unfortunate, but at least we went out on a high note. This new range was really awesome and a huge improvement over wood. And don't worry, we have just a few more new items to take a look at shortly, but the video is far from over yet. Before we go to narrow gauge, we have a couple Railway Series characters to look at. Starting off with my favorite, the Big City Engine. I did a video a few months back ranking all of the Railway Series exclusive characters, so if you want to hear my more in-depth thoughts, go check that out. But in short, I love this guy. He looks like he was plucked right out of Gordon Goes Forward, and that face really sells it. S tier, without a doubt. Here's the ever-famous Flying Scotsman. This is the 2013 Mattel version, and one of the first new items they released after acquiring the brand. This is a lovely item. It's loads better than the 99 version. It's detailed better, and his firebox actually has something to rest on. It still has its flaws, but I adore this model. Next up, we have the 2005 D199. A very nice item, and again, loads better than the original. Very well detailed, shaped properly, and a cool face. And here's the 2013 version. It's fine. Rounding out my Railway series characters is Neil. Neil is very neat. Lagging some details, but I love the space in the cab for you to put a Lego figure in. I have one more standard gauge engine to look at, and it's Dustin. Dustin infamously never got a highlight video, so he's always felt like the odd one out to me. Regardless, this is a really cool toy. I love that we have a rotary blade engine in the series. That feels very natural. Wow, that was a lot of characters. I'm currently on page 21 of my script, and I cannot believe we looked at this many trains. However, we're not done. Let's head over to a small little railway in the heart of Sodor and take a look at all of the narrow gauge engines I have. Starting off with the leader of the pack, here's the 1996 Skarloey. I love this version of Skarloey. It's so simple and charming. It really resembles his Season 4 aura very well. This, however, is not good at all. This is the 2001 Skarloey. It looks virtually the same as the previous one, but his face was made so much fatter. My goodness, that's horrible. I only got this model so I could quote-unquote break it for my Four Little Engines remake and then transition over to the next version. And here is that elusive next version, the 2013 Mattel Skarloey. I really like this version. The details are crisper and I really like that deeper shade of red. Not to mention the face is nearly spot on. Though if anyone out there has a Tomy Skarloey they'd like to send my way, my address is in the description. Here's the 1999 Rheneas, and boy, this is a great model. He is kind of pink, but at least they got his shape right. His face is also really nice. What a chipper fellow. Okay, this might actually be the worst Thomas Wooden Railway item ever. Here's the 2004 Rheneas. It's a model that exists. At least he comes with cool rolling stock. Here's the 1996 Sir Handel. I think I got this in a Facebook lot. Probably wouldn't have sought him out otherwise. This version is kind of strange. This is even stranger. This is the Sir Handel that came with the ice cream factory. It's virtually the same as the previous version, but his face was given these very uneasy paint updates. Here's the 2008 Sir Handel. I like this one fine. It looks like how Sir Handel looked in the series at the time. Not much to say. Now the Tomy one, that's something. Again, address in the description. I only have one version of Peter Sam, and it's the 2008 one. Like Sir Handel, this is a totally fine model. It looks like Season 9 Peter Sam, so if you like that version of him, you'll probably like this. What I really like is the Tomy version. Can you sense the theme here? I do have one more model of Peter Sam. It's the same as the previous, but I cut the funnel off for my special funnel remake and gave him Stuart nameplates. Cool. Here's the 1995 ever well-known White Roof Rusty. I think I got this along with my 1996 Donald and Bill. A neat novelty. I wonder why they gave him a white roof. And here's the 2003 Rusty with the construction cars. Not many changes were made to Rusty. I do like that red buffer beam though. Makes him stand out a little bit. Scotland's Devil is up next. Here's Duncan. Like Rheneas, I really like the shape of this version. It perfectly represents how we looked in the series. And here's the 2009 Duncan. When I went with my grandma to get James and Diesel, she let me buy an item for myself and I chose Duncan. And for probably 10 years, he was one of the only narrow gauge engines I owned, so I have a lot of memories with him. I really like this version of Duncan. It perfectly channels how he looked in Season 7. Rounding out the Season 4 crew is the 2009 Duke, and this is a nice item. Definitely a top 10, maybe even top 5 Wooden Railway item. I love the face, the extra details are awesome, and his tender is really neat, even though it's called Duke's Coal Car. Even as a kid, I never understood why it was called that. This Duke in particular is special to me because he was one of the first items I ever bought off of eBay in 2018. I first bought the Mountain Tunnel, then Cranky, and then Duke. Very happy to own this one. Oh wait, we have one more Season 4 guy, Smudger. I love Smudger, and I particularly love that he was one of the last untouched classic characters Learning Curve made before CGI. Smudger in the show is literally just Rheneas, and it's so funny that Learning Curve made a completely new mold for Smudger. If only they made Rheneas look like this. This is a neat one, the original Bertram with scrap cars. Learning Curve started doing random 3-packs in the early 2000s, and this was one of the pioneers. I don't know why he was paired with the scrap cars, but they look really cool. Bertram is unironically one of my absolute favorite wooden railway items because Learning Curve literally just based the toy off of this singular picture of him. Why doesn't he have a tender? Because you can't see it in the picture. Why does he have an L on his tank? Because the shadow from his nameplate looks like one. Hysterical. Interestingly, Mattel decided to reintroduce him in 2016 to make him more accurate to how he actually looks, and I'm very impressed with this toy. Probably one of the most overlooked items from the Thomas Wooden Railway catalog. I don't know why he still has a coal bunker though. If they had removed that, this would be the perfect Bertram toy. Here's Mighty Mac. This one is awesome, simply for the fact that they have dual magnets like the take-alongs. Why couldn't every engine get that? Moving past that, this is a great toy because, say it with me, it's well detailed and the shape is awesome. Fun fact about me, I was always really creeped out by Mighty's face, so whenever I had to put my toys away, I'd always put him face down so Mac would be looking up. Freddy's up next, and he's fine. Totally adequate. Here's the 2013 Victor. Again, he's fine. I like this version better than the 2009 one. That face has never really struck me as being good. Rounding out the TV series characters is Luke. Here comes another elongation rant. Why is he so long? He looks so goofy. What makes this even worse is that Millie came out in the same year as him and she's properly sized. Why couldn't Luke be? We've got a couple Railway Series narrow gauge engines next, starting off with the 1996 Colby. Now, if you've seen my tier list video, you know that I'm not a fan of this model. It looks nothing like Colby. Probably one of Learning Curve's weakest models, if I'm honest. That back face doesn't really help either. This one's much better though. Here's the 2015 Colby. I still like the 2005 one a bit more, but this one's really classy. I love the front face, the shade of purple, and the back face, which is thankfully not going to haunt my dreams. I'm just not a fan of the simplistic coupling rod details on the side. Besides that, it's a great toy. And the final narrow gauge character is Ivo Hugh with his infamous zoo cars. This is one of those strange 3-packs I mentioned earlier. Why on earth was he paired with the zoo cars? One of God's greatest mysteries. Ivo Hugh himself is kinda odd though. Not really a fan of the face. He just looks so derpy. Alright, 3 more pages of the script down, but we're still not even done with the engines yet. We have one more railway to take a look at. Let's kick off this little section with the 1999 Mike. I like Mike. Mike is neat, but I'm struggling to love him. Like Ivo Hugh, the face is really strange. It literally looks like he's gonna cry. And here's the 2015 Mike. I like this model a lot, but like the previous one, I'm struggling to love him. The face is great though, and the more pronounced details are definitely an improvement. And of course, we have Bert. I'm so glad Mattel made these two, but I will never forgive them for skimping out on Rex. I guess that gives you more of an incentive to go out and get one of these glorious customs made. Shout out to you, my guy. We did get one more Arlesdale engine though, that being Frank. I love that we got Frank before Bert or Rex, and this model is pretty decent. I really like the different color running board, but I'll never get over how his lamp was placed right in his face. That must have been a really traumatic day for his surgeon. And that brings us to the end of the engines section. So many goddamn trains. I can't believe it. But, contrary to popular belief, Sodor does not just rely on trains. We have a very healthy section of non-rail characters to take a look at, from boats to cars and flopper choppers. Let's get started. Starting off this section of the collection is Sir Topham Hatt's car. I really like this one. It's miles better than the original one. I never liked how that one was yellow. What's really cool about this one is that when you move the car back and forth, Sir Topham Hatt bobs up and down. Genius. Next up, we have the 2003 Terrence. Terrence kinda had it rough in Wooden Railway. His original model isn't too bad, but he has train wheels, and the caterpillars come off so easily. This one secures the caterpillars in place, but the rest of him is not too pretty. Not really a fan of this one if I'm being honest, but hey, it's Terrence, and you can't have a Thomas collection without one. Speaking of essential characters, here's Birdie. I actually didn't get Birdie for years. It wasn't until my senior year of high school when I finally got this one, which isn't too bad at all. I wish he had people on the inside, but the face is excellent. The magnet on the back is totally ridiculous though. It sticks out way too much. We'll see plenty more examples of this later on, trust me. Here's the OG Trevor from 2000. I was shocked to learn that he was made so late. You would have thought he'd been made in like the mid-90s or something. I'm a really big fan of this model. I wish I had a bit more color, but the shape is great, and I love that he actually has a moving traction wheel. This one doesn't fare as well. This is the 2017 Trevor, and my god, Mattel did him dirty. This is just ugly. I did pick out a few of the details, but that doesn't really save it. This is better. Here's Bulgy, and this is a great one. We're going to start to see a bunch of roadway characters introduced around 2002. That's because Learning Curve wanted more items to be compatible with their new roadway system, and hey, I'm not complaining, bring them on. I love the face on Bulgy. I'm really glad he wasn't given a happy face. Perfectly sums up his character. I also have a second one. Why? I don't know. Here's George, and again, this is a really nice model. He looks great, minus that face. I would have loved to have seen his cranky or annoyed face represented. And here's Caroline. The character is totally irrelevant to me, but the toy looks nice at least. I really like how she has a spare black wheel on the back. It just makes it so much more realistic. I also have a second one of her, and I actually have a reason why. So this Caroline's wheel's cracked completely in half. I'm not sure why. Maybe it was due to the wheels being really delicately made. I don't really know. Now, Learning Curve did release all 3 lorries from Horde Lorry, but I only have Lorry 1. Lorry 2 was only included with the service station, and Lorry 3 only in a coupon redeemable 3-pack. I don't know why they made it so difficult for us to get them, but it definitely makes scalpers happy. Regardless, I still really like Lorry 1. He comes with a cool little flatbed and a piece of cargo. Also, that face is great. Not a bad model by a long shot. Here's Elizabeth, who I think is one of the most overlooked items. She's detailed incredibly well and has a wonderful face. I also really like that movable bucket. I have a couple members from the pack, starting off with the 2004 Jack. A decent model. Like Fergus, I really like his separately colored wheels, and the face isn't half bad, but he doesn't really strike me too much. I do like the magnetic bucket though. Up next is Alfie, and I really like these guys. He's so cute. I love that he spins the whole way around. This is the one model I was not keen to talk about. This is the 2015 Oliver. And I gotta say, this is one of the most offensive wooden railway models. May it be the worst? Probably. Looking above the wheels, it's honestly not that bad. He's detailed well, but he has goddamn train wheels, and he spins way too easily. What a shame. This could have been a really cool item, and the way it was released was super clever. This came out alongside Lost Treasure, and it was exclusive in a 2-pack with him and Oliver the Engine. That was genuinely so clever. Sucks that the model sucks. These are better though. Max and Monty are really cool. I love how they have different faces. Again, that really helps set them apart from each other. The tipping buckets are cool, and the back magnets aren't too egregious. Great guys. And rounding out the pack is Byron. He's cool. I also have a second one. This is the one I had as a kid, and unfortunately he lost one of his caterpillars and the other one came off. My bad. Here's the 2013 Kevin, and my god, what a great model. It's loads better than the 2009 one, which is terrible. This Kevin actually looks like how he does in the show, and he comes with a piece of cargo. Neat. Here's the little fire truck that came with the fire station destination. I think it's supposed to have a fire hose on the back, but unfortunately mine didn't come with one. And here's the Apple forklift that came with the Coldy 3-pack. I don't have anything else in the pack, but I managed to acquire this forklift. It's pretty cool, honestly. This would look great on a Brendam Docks set. We got a couple more 2-packs here, starting off with the Sodor Road Crew. Included is a garbage truck and a street sweeper. These are pretty cool, and they do help build the world of Sodor, but I think they feel a bit lifeless. This was a common theme with roadway items during this time, and even though it's nice to have a break from anthropomorphic vehicles, I would have liked to have seen some faces on these guys. Finishing off the road section is the Sodor Fire Crew. These are cooler in my opinion, simply because they're loosely based off the ones from the show. I do really like how the hook and ladder one is able to hook up to the water tanker. That's a really nice touch. Let's head down to the ocean and take a look at some boats next. Here is Bulstrode, and this is a great item. He's also a pretty recent addition to the collection, but this feels like a quintessential item in any Thomas collection. Having an item to run around the water is key, and this model definitely delivers. I love the size and scale of him, not to mention that hilarious face. If you have the opportunity to pick up a Bulstrode, get this one. Do not get the 2014 one. That one is a complete joke. Not only does he not look like Bulstrode, but he can't even swim. Here's the Sodor Bay tugboat. Cool item, but I'm sick of the water. Let's take to the sky. Here's the 2010 Harold. I think. Harold didn't really change from 1993 to 2010. I got this with the 2010 helipad, so I think it's safe to say this is from 2010. I also have a second one with the box from someone. Harold really had it rough in Wooden Railway. This isn't a horrible item, but the face is super generic. That's just not Harold. Ah, that's better. This is the 2011 Harold, which looks so much more like Harold. Yeah, the face is a bit unsettling, but at least it looks like him from the CGI series. I also really like the extra details. Good model. Here's Tiger Moth. This is an awesome item. I love that we got a toy of Tiger Moth. Such an obscure character, but resembles it very well. You know what? I'm sick of the sky. Tiger Moth, take us back down. Kicking this section off is the 1996 Annie. I own this, and the character card. I kind of forgot I did though. Here's something more substantial, the 2011 Annie and Clarabelle. These are like the perfect versions of Annie and Clarabelle. They have both the white roofs and the CGI faces. Great models. Here's Henrietta, who's so needlessly expensive. It took me until 2022 to get a version of Henrietta. Even though it costs an arm and a leg to get her, I gotta say, this is a very nice model. Very simple but effective. Looks great behind Toby. And the last standard gauge coach character is Old Slow Coach. I was really shocked to learn that she was released so late. She first came out in 2006, 7 years after Season 5 first debuted. Even though she came out late, I'm very impressed with her. Her face is awesome and she looks very classy. Again, a very overlooked model. More people should definitely talk about her. Look out, ladies, because I've got an army of express coaches here. I love the express coaches so much. These would probably be in my top 10 list. What makes these guys so cool is not only do they look super accurate, but there is seemingly no limit to how many you can have. You don't really need 5 pairs of the Sodor Dairy cars, but you can get 7 express coaches and no one would say boo to you. Great items, much better than the Nafford Express coach. And here we have 2 male coaches. Again, like the express coaches, you can get an infinite amount of these and they won't look out of place. These are some of my favorite Wooden Railway items. They also look like they're ripped right out of the model series. Much better than the version that came with Percy. These are pretty pricey though, so if you do find one for under $30, you better swipe it up before the scalpers get it. This is probably the most depressing and embarrassing part of the video for me. Here are my custom branch line coaches. I don't necessarily hate these customs. I mean, I made them when I was like 13 and I could definitely do a better job today. But whenever I look at them, I'm always reminded of how stupid I was for painting over my childhood versions of Annie and Clarabelle. Pre-college era me was definitely an odd creature. Here's another custom, but this one's actually good. This is my custom works unit coach. I made this for my Love Me Tender remake, and I'm pretty impressed with it. What really stands out to me is that I swapped one of the magnets so the twins can each be facing it backwards. Before we head over to the trucks, I have a few narrow gauge coaches to show off. First off, we have Ada, Jane, and Mabel. I love how these are some of the first Railway series items made in Wooden Railway. Learning Curve really encouraged kids to build the narrow gauge world even more. I love these models so much. What I love most about them is that you can put Lego minifigures in them. Ingenious design. Here to accompany Colby is Catherine. She's fine. She doesn't look anything like her counterpart, and this cargo piece is really dumb. It slides out the second you pull Catherine up a hill. Could have definitely used another redesign. And to cap off the coaches section are, of course, my custom narrow gauge coaches, starting with the blue ones. I want to give an extra huge shout out to Roman's TWR Empire for supplying me with the decals. Thanks a lot, Roman, you're a real lifesaver. And here are my red ones. Just to make these customs a little more unique, I gave each of them names to resemble Ada, Jane, and Mabel. Very cool if I do say so myself. Time for trouble! Here are the trucks, starting with the dictator himself, Scruffy. I adore this version of Scruffy. His face is beyond perfect. I also have his character card. S tier toy. And here's one of his two gooners, Fred. Fred is love. Fred is life. Fred is great. Love the face, love the details, overall, a great model. And bringing up the rear is Rickety. I love how Learning Curve essentially made up this item. Yeah, it's based off of a singular illustration, but he had literally no personality or defining traits, so they created this amazing toy and character. Amazing. Now this is a cool model. Hector. I just recently got him, and I'm very impressed. He's so intimidating compared to these puny trucks, yet he has such a warm, friendly face. All of the details pop really well. Again, a very classy model. Here's the OG, very oddly coined gray troublesome truck. Why the fandom dubbed him with that name is beyond me. I like this guy, but he just seems a bit off. Not to mention his face will give any child nightmares. Alright, we've come to the moment I've been anticipating the most. The creme de la creme of my collection. The troublesome Brakevan, who I managed to snag for an absolutely amazing deal very recently. I've always wanted this guy, and it felt so surreal to finally own it. I love the printed face, and the fact that we have a troublesome truck that's more than a 7 plank is awesome. There is one thing that's consistently bothered me for years though. Why is this called the troublesome Brakevan? This is a Brakevan. This is a regular van. I've never heard anyone bring this up, but it's bothered me for years. Other than that, love it. And here are the last 2022 items I have. First off, we have 2 troublesome trucks with crates. I absolutely love the fact that we got troublesome trucks in this new line. Makes the world of Thomas Wooden Railway feel so much more like a real railway. This truck in particular is very similar to the troublesome Brakevan in the sense that you can imagine anything is in these crates, and it doesn't look too out of place if you have multiple like me. An absolutely stunning item, but it's pretty chunky to be honest. And here's the paint truck. I like that we have 2 different types of trucks, but this one isn't as versatile as the other. Still nice though, and that face rocks. Speaking of faces that rock, here are my custom troublesome trucks. Well, they're not technically made by me. The bodies were printed by Nick TF89 and the faces were designed by Lewis from Thomas Tank Merch. I'm really happy with how these came out. The faces are great and I love that we can put the cargo blocks in them. Why couldn't we get something like this instead of generic cargo cars? I'll never understand. Here's another custom, this one combining the Bachmann troublesome cattle truck with the base from a circus car. I needed this for my Percy Gets It Right remake and I think it turned out really cool. And finishing off the troublesome truck lineup are my custom narrow gauge slate trucks. I'm super happy with these guys. I bought both the faces and the bodies from sellers on Shapeways and put them on tender chassis. Unfortunately, I don't think you can get these printed anymore, but if your mom calls my mom, maybe we can have a play date. Alright, the rest of these items in this section aren't as interesting, so I'll try and get through them as quick as I can. Let's take a look at some tankers. Here I have 4 milk tankers. Really nice items, although they don't look so good when they chip. Here are a few tar tankers. Gotta keep these away from James. And here are 6 fuel tankers. I don't know how on earth I ended up with 6, but they make a really nice slow goods train. Next up, we have an oil tanker. I really like this one. I love how they made it bright red instead of the black ones from the show. Makes it so much more distinctive. And rounding out the tankers is the 2007 Dalewood Thomas one. I found a couple Dalewood Thomas items on Facebook recently and thought they'd make really nice additions to the collection. I much prefer the earlier exclusives that were unique pieces of rolling stock instead of Thomas variants. That got old really fast. Now, what kind of Thomas Wooden Railway YouTuber would I be without an obscene amount of cargo cars and flatbeds? I have 17 different ones. Now, the funny thing is, I only ever had one as a kid. I got the majority of these in the last year or so for both my narrow gauge remakes and through Facebook lots. Even though they're very generic and uninspired, it's really cool to see all of them paired together like this, and they make for great set dressing at the docks. And here are a couple barrel cars. The purple one came by itself, while the blue one came with the barrel loader. Cool items. Alright, don't show these to Henry or else he'll cry, but I have 2 log cars I really like these ones. I'd love to get my hands on a red one of these days. Next up is the Chinese Dragon. I love that this is an item, but I much prefer the 2005 version. This one is a bit mental. Here's the coal car that came with a big coal station. I think it was supposed to come with 2, but I only have 1. Still nice though. This is a neat one, the Sodor Railroad handcar. I love that this was made into an item. I use this in my Haunted Henry remake, and it actually scales really well with Legos. Here's the fire train. This was also included with that fire truck and the fire station. Kinda lame, to be honest. It doesn't really look as cool without the hose. Here are a few exclusives from the Conductor Shed Figure 8 set, the yellow and green boxcars. Always gotta have some generic vans in the layout. This one's not so generic, the Happy Birthday boxcar. This is a really cool item. It doesn't have a name on the bottom, but back in the day, this came with a sticker sheet so you could spell your own name on the bottom. That is legitimately so clever. Really makes it that much more special for the kids. Here's the red baggage car from the Oval starter set. Very basic, but I use this as a brake van on the Skarloey Railway, and it really comes in handy. Here's another one, but in blue. This is a custom I made using the red one as a basis so it could go behind the blue coaches. Love how it came out. And here's another one, but in brown to be used behind goods trains. I know I made this, but I'm gonna humble myself for a minute. I absolutely love how these are just blatant traceovers of the original baggage car. This is an awesome item. This is the dock cargo crane from a 3-pack with Salty, but since it's not specific to the docks, I use it for the narrow gauge breakdown train. I love this one. It's so realistic. I love this warning on the back. A very overlooked but great item. And rounding out the single trucks is this Elsbridge flower car. I own this. It's an item that exists. Alright, now we move on to the 2-pack, starting with the awesome Soda China clay cars. I'm in love with these guys. They're such essential pieces for any scene with Bill and Ben. And like the express coaches, these are items that you can seemingly get an army of and it won't look too out of place. Here are the yellow and blue box cars. Nice. So we're entering the era where Learning Curve started making up pieces of rolling stock, and this is one of the most prominent 2-packs, the recycling cars. I mentioned earlier how a lot of the Learning Curve self-made items were a bit lifeless, but thankfully that's not the case here. They actually designed a completely original Troublesome truck face, and it looks great. I was really happy to find these in a Facebook lot recently, let alone with the tires. Those are not easy to come by. Here are the fog cars. These are both strange and clever. The fog machine was never really a car, but I really like that we have merch of it. And not only that, but we also get a blasting cap car so cereal never runs out. What's even stranger is that Learning Curve literally made this exact same 2-pack for the take-along line, which we'll take a look at in a few weeks. Absolutely hilarious. So these don't technically have a name, but I'm just gonna call them the Christmas cars. They come from the Around the Trees set. I have the cars, but not the Thomas. These are really nice pieces. I love the idea of a wooden railway set designed to go around your tree. That level of creativity is just not present with Thomas toys anymore. All of the OG Thomas fans sound off in the chat because these are the most infamous wooden railway items ever, the aquarium cars. Yes, they're dumb, but I think these versions are the most realistic. The animals are in semi-realistic tanks that could theoretically be put up in an aquarium. Side note, why the hell are there 6 different versions of the aquarium cars? Again, only one version of Donald and Douglas for 20 years, but we can get 6 different aquarium car designs. Now we're talking. Here are 3 pairs of the Giggling Troublesome trucks, and these are without a doubt my favorite Thomas Wooden Railway items. They look like the ones from the show, you can have as many as you want, you get 2 different kinds, and best of all, the faces are literally perfect. And we get to hear the classic laughing sound. Amazing. These are also really cool. Here are 2 different versions of the 2006 breakdown train. This version is miles better than the original one, simply because it actually looks like a breakdown train. It has such great details, but as a kid, I was always so pissed off that you could never perfectly fit an engine on the flatbed, and I'm still seething today. And now we enter the Mattel era, starting with the oil and coal cargo. About 80 to 90% of the Mattel rolling stock is really gimmicky and lame, but this 2-pack is one of the best. It's just a simple coal truck and an oil tanker. Boom, perfect. Speaking of gimmicky, here's the Dino Fossil Discovery 2-pack. I got this by happenstance in a Facebook lot. Definitely wouldn't have gotten it on its own, but hey, the more rolling stock, the better. Here's another pack that really stuck out to me when it came out, the Demolition Team. I wanted this one because I never had Scruffy as a kid, so it was a nice way to have one until I got the OG version. I love this version of Scruffy as well as the Slate Truck. Great 2-pack. Ending off the Mattel 2-packs is the On the Glow Cargo. This is based on Henry in the Dark, for some reason. Why we got this instead of a glow-in-the-dark Henry is beyond me. I only got this back in the day because I wanted more rolling stock. Not the coolest 2-pack ever. I'm not done quite yet. I've got a few 3-packs, starting off with Rocky. This also feels like a necessary addition to your collection. I think Rocky translated really well into Thomas Wooden Railway. I kinda prefer the original one with a string instead of a rod for the hook, but I'm still really happy with this one. I've never understood why they call us flatbeds tenders though. That always bugged me. And rounding out the standard Thomas Wooden Railway rolling stock is the Circus Train. This feels like one of those packs that everyone had back in the day. I've gotten so many of these through Facebook over the years. It's a pretty cool concept to be honest, and the animal figures are very well detailed. I also have the cars that came with the carousel and the ponies. Now, I said those were the last pieces of Thomas Wooden Railway rolling stock, but I do have this little piece. This is a truck from the Thomas Interactive Railway line, which is basically a hybrid of Thomas Wooden Railway and Take-Along. It was a very odd line, and it only lasted for about a year or so. I don't have any engines, but I managed to acquire this in a lot a few months back, and it was so odd that I had to keep it. Even though it's not wooden, it looks really nice being pulled behind Salty. So those were all of my trucks. They're definitely great pieces of set decor, and you can make a really nice train with them. But what's a train without a brake van? Let's head on back and see who brings up the rear. Kicking off this section is the 2000 Toad. I absolutely love Toad, but if I'm being totally honest, I have no idea where I got this from. Probably a Facebook lot, but your guess is as good as mine. Now here's a nice item, the 2006 Toad. I really love the face and the addition of the brake lever. Super clever. I also have another one which I use as a stunt double for when he falls into a pond or jumps off of a cliff with Tom Cruise. And here's a third one that's been dressed up as Scrap Toad. Very pleased with how this came out. This is another favorite Thomas Wooden Railway of mine, the NW Brakevan. Go check out my tier list video to see my full thoughts on him, but in short, he's super unique and he has a hell of a face. Again, what Thomas Wooden Railway YouTuber would I be without an insane amount of soda-lying cabooses? Caboose? Caboosei? I don't know. I have 7 red ones. Even though cabooses aren't meant for British railways, you always gotta have something to put at the back of trains. And here's a yellow one with a bit of a different design. I think this came in a Target exclusive starter set. Now, this is the most special item in my collection. I unfortunately lost my original Thomas, but the Haunted Caboose was the second item I ever got, and it's still hanging in there. This is the item I've had for the longest, I think probably 18 years now. Such a cool item, really well detailed. Love it. Here's the most intimidating item to any TWR YouTuber ever, the musical caboose. Guys, I'm not going to play the music because I don't want to get a copyright strike. Please respect my decision. And here's the 2007 Dale with Thomas caboose. I was shocked to learn that this was the only caboose they ever made for Dale with Thomas. Definitely a cool novelty. Okay, I might take back what I said about the Haunted Caboose. This may be the most special item in the collection. This is one of the only Crazy Cabooses in existence. My good friend Crazy Caboose Creations made this for me back in 2019, and he gave me a decent amount of items that you've already seen. Most of my collection is stored away at the moment, but I always keep this one out on display. Peter, wherever you're watching from, thank you so much for making this for me. Rest in peace. Alright, that was everything with wheels and a face. Goodness, that was a lot of stuff. But would you be surprised to learn that we're not done yet? We still have a shit ton of destinations to get through. Now, this video is already running super long, and I'm currently on page 38 of my script. I'm tired of writing, I'm tired of recording, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing my fucking voice. If I'm being totally honest, there isn't much to say about the destinations. So, let's speedrun this shit. And there we have it, folks. That was my entire Thomas Wooden Railway collection. Every year when I make these videos, I genuinely forget how much stuff I have, and it takes hours to get everything set up, filmed, and edited. I love Thomas Wooden Railway. It's what got me into Thomas in the first place. It has one of the most diverse casts of characters, and it's partially what got me into doing filmmaking. Currently, there are no new wooden Thomas toys being made, and Mattel recently stopped distributing the 2022 line. But I do really hope in some capacity, someday, we see a resurgence of this brand. The journey it's gone through over the past 30-odd years is absolutely crazy, but the memories I've made with these toys will always stick in my mind. If you have the opportunity to start a Thomas collection, I highly recommend getting Wooden Railway. Trust me, you won't regret it.